So, let's talk about triggers. What are triggers? Triggers can be any situation, event, person, sound, smell, food that produces in us some type of negative feeling. And let's be honest, at the very beginning, that triggers are normal and they are part of life. Everybody has their own trigger list. It can be bigger or smaller depending how much you're working on it, essentially. And when I say working on it, I mean how much you're aware what are your trigger points. In order to know that, there are certain steps that you can take to become more aware of the specifics. For example, you are in a situation that makes you feel uncomfortable, angry, overwhelmed. It starts to produce some physical symptoms like having anxiety or panic attack. Something negative, whatever that can be. Sadness, depression. Then you know that situation is your trigger. What you can do when you are aware, luckily, of one situation that brings you negative feelings. First of all, if you are already aware of that specific situation, you should try to really avoid putting yourself in it. If it's, for example, meeting a specific person, if you can, say no and don't meet with that person. If you really cannot avoid it, then at least realize and be aware that at that moment when you meet with a specific person, you will feel most likely some negative feelings, but afterwards give yourself time to process all the negative emotions. Do some self-care, like journal those feelings, talk with a friend, go for a walk, schedule a therapy session, or the simplest thing, sit down with your feelings and breathe. Let those negative feelings just go away. And how else you can realize that something is your trigger? First of all, if you are already working on yourself and boosting your self-confidence and self-esteem, for sure you are more aware of your feelings and you will recognize, that's the moment where I don't feel okay, so this must be something that triggers me. So working on yourself is the first thing that every one of us should do, and is our ticket to knowing ourselves better and knowing our triggers. Second, I mentioned journaling about the specific situation. You can continue doing that in a longer period of time, especially when you feel some negative emotions or you have physical stress from specific, as I said, situation, person, memory, whatever it is. Journal about it in detail, and maybe you will realize a pattern where the trigger hides itself. you will know what to avoid at first. You can also work with a therapist and together with a therapist discover your trigger points. And something that goes together with triggers is setting boundaries. If you are already a person who knows a bit him or herself and already realizes when to say no, how to expose yourself, when to expose yourself or when not to, you're already a person that has quite a knowledge what the trigger points can be. So basically, the main point of how to realize your triggers is to know yourself better. You won't be able to completely avoid triggers in your life ever, but you might be able to resolve some of those issues and reduce the list of all the points that you have. Or at least, and this is actually a very good thing, I should not say at least, you will know how to react in specific situations. Because you cannot change other people, you cannot change that something might happen. You cannot control the world and the events that happen in your life. But you can certainly try to control how you are reacting in specific situations and how you process specific emotions. And I think that's a huge part of life, when you know yourself so well that you can know, this is where I don't want to be, but unfortunately I really need to. I don't like what I hear, but I cannot control it. I can control how I will compose myself, and I can control how I will release everything what I feel at the moment when all of this is over. That's an amazing accomplishment. You can do it yourself, absolutely. You can do it with a therapist. You can practice with a specific person in your life that maybe is going through the same issues, and you can be a support group to each other. Triggers are super important thing to investigate in your life, to know, to get familiar with. Because if you are completely unaware and going through life like basically blindfolded, you will not be able to fully enjoy it. Knowing yourself, knowing your triggers, and I will add, knowing your boundaries, is something that everyone should try to learn in their lives. And as I said, you might remove one trigger point from your list. That's a huge success. You might not remove any, but at least you will know how to react. And you will know what makes you, you. Because you're super unique and you're super awesome.